Thanks for tuning in the Football Talk Squadron. I'm Dutch.
And I'm Maul.
And welcome to the college football playoff, if you want to call it the championship round, sort of AFC, NFC championship round, final four, I guess that's the best way to say it. I like
semis,
the way the pros
semis.
do it more. Yeah. You know, I'm tired of it from the stamp. The playoffs make me mad. With the one, Alabama just got pummeled. Can't be anything other than just being like, ugh, well, Saban's, the dynasty's dead. Needless to say. It was fun while it lasted. I thought about it the other day. I told Holly, I was like, I know you were mad at me for dragging you to some of them games early on in the playoffs and stuff, but aren't you glad we went and we got to see dominance while it lasted? Because Can you imagine paying to fly all the way out to Pasadena to watch a 38-3 stomping? Now I know how every other fan felt when they had to play Salvador at Alabama. Forget that.
Not a fun feeling. Yeah. The biggest thing to me is, first off, the JMU haters and the Tulane haters, you got zero leg to stand on anymore, right? Did JMU and Tulane belong in the playoffs? You could argue no. But in the same token, you could say, well, then did Texas Tech, right? Or in this case, did even Alabama, right? Like, just because you get blown out in a playoff game doesn't necessarily equate to do you belong or not, right? Like, the rules were set in place and they followed the rules. Now, you can argue that the rules are dumb, but like, don't hate on the programs and say like, I'm going to hate on the SEC because it's the SEC loves to do these like hypothetical situations of like, we would go undefeated in every other conference. Like, clearly not, right? Clearly not, because you get blown out just like everybody else does. And now we don't have the excuse of going, oh, well, it was a bowl game that we didn't care about and we were sitting our players, so it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm sorry. That's what it is. Secondly, everybody's complaints about basically every school and why they should or should not be in the playoff is valid because the rules are so dumb. And why the rules are so dumb is because, and I've been chirping on this literally since day one, is that the conferences are too big. There's too many teams, so we don't get a good representation of like how good each individual football team is. We judge based off of these hypothetical situations and based on name value alone. And it all stems from like preseason rankings that are based on absolutely nothing that happened this year, aka, and I'm going to keep beating the dead horse, the SEC gauntlet that certain teams had to face. And it's like, the only reason it's a gauntlet is because they were ranked teams. And we've just established that the rankings were bogus from the get-go. So, like, we shouldn't act surprised when these teams that, like, don't really play anybody good, when you look back at the schedule, can go, oh, well, they were so good all year. How did they get blown out? And I was like, well, not really, because they only played other bad teams. We would say they were good teams because we needed to hype up the media and, make it look like a big matchup every weekend. But, like, by having these conferences the way they are, it diminishes all of the actual results of the game so that when we get to the playoffs, we think we're getting the best 12 teams. And then when someone gets blown out, we're like, well, how did that happen? And you're like, well, that's the best team they faced all year. They haven't faced any real competition all year. Or when they did, they actually struggled, a.k.a. A&M, Ohio State, whatever, maybe Alabama. Like, and now they won those games, right? So you can't take away the wins, but you can't act surprised that when they face another good team that then they struggle again. And it's like, well, duh. Every time they played a good team, they struggled.
Yeah, on the opposite end, just to provide some devil's advocate, you need some type of. Miami only got in my opinion, because of the win over Notre Dame, and they should have been ranked above Notre Dame. But in this scenario, I'm glad that Miami got a chance because Miami's proving that, hey, we look. I mean, I look at this game, the first one we're going to talk about, Miami Ole Miss, and it could go either way. Like, I think Miami's a 3-point favorite in the game. To transition into that game, I just sort of look at, like, if you think about, I'm going to take it back to you. You said, yo, if I have to look at Carson Beck's dumb face.
If we're this late in the season, I'm still looking at Carson Beck's dumb face.
But here he is, and honestly, it's not that he's done anything exceptional. Like, he's not just balled out, but what he hasn't done is he hasn't cost Miami the game. Like,
in the playoffs.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
The reason they lost during the regular season was because of Carson Beck.
Yes. But that run he had against Ohio State was like, running over the defender like that, getting a first down, like those type of things. I just sort of sit back and I go, you know what? Hats off to the guy. Like, it's clear. And you said it on the phone call that we had. What showed up was the fact that, hey, here's a guy that's got experience in a big game.
That's it.
And honestly, when you look at, I would argue the guys playing, Chambliss has won a Division II championship, has got a lot of experience with playing. Beck's had a lot of experience. Fernando Mendoza played at Cal. Like, all these guys, Mendoza's like a 4-year guy. Like,
he's graduated from Cal.
Yeah.
He's taking online classes at Indiana.
Which, let me tell you, I did that at Alabama. That's the easiest way to secure yourself an A anytime. Minimum work.
Yeah, so he's got zero distraction outside of football. He's literally just like studying for football 24/7.
Yeah, I can guarantee you one thing. All his classes are multiple choice, and he finished the class day 2. And by someone else took the test for him, and he didn't take class. Johnny Manziel already came out and said that he never actually went to class, nor did any schoolwork. Someone else did it for him.
A, B, C, or D. I choose H for Heisman.
To the game, the initial thoughts, and I'll let you pipe in after this. I go back to the A&M game versus Miami. It was close. Like, A&M had a chance at the end, but throughout the game, A&M had driven the ball down the field mainly due to Reed's ability to scramble. And we talked about it with Ohio State, that he was just not Reed with the ability to scramble. Chambliss is. Like, in Chambliss, I think is way better than Reed with being able to throw on the run. I think he's going to give Miami's defense some issues. Like, the over-under's 52 for the game. Dude, I like the over for the game. Like, I sort of feel like this is going to be like a 30-point game for each team.
I don't disagree. The only thing that gives me pause with the high-scoring game is Miami's not scoring any points. Like, the last 2 games, Miami put up 10 against A&M. They put up 24 against Ohio State.
7 was a pick 6.
Yeah, right. Like, they're not. And we talked about this at the beginning. Like, defense is the theme of this year's CFP. It could be because of the experience that we talked about with quarterbacks, and like, there's a lot of good defenses in this CFP, Texas Tech included. Texas Tech, I think, had the best defense, period, dot. But, like, people's defenses aren't that good. Like, we see a low-scoring game, and then we always, at the end, go, man, it was a defensive battle. And you're like, was it really, though? Or, like, are these offenses just, like, pretty piss poor? Like, I'm just not seeing, like, play calls and or dropped passes and or just, like, bad mistakes. Like, we talked about it. Like, the running backs are just running into the backup players. People aren't getting out of bounds when they need to. Like, and I don't know if it's coaching, like, or all of the above. Like, there's a lot of just, like, you can call it whatever you want, transfer portal, all these different things that, like, aren't meshing well to create good offenses. Like, we just haven't seen really good offenses. So teams that have an okay defense are able to shut down the offenses, and everybody's like, man, look at this defense. And it's like, I'm not super convinced. It could be an absolute 45-43 type of score. if Chambliss and Beck just go up and down the field, because Ole Miss's defense is you can score on them. They're not weak, but they're not like they're probably the weakest defense left. But that's not necessarily hating on them. But I'm just wary on Miami's ability to score points.
I would put Ole Miss's defense though below Texas A&M and Ohio State.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that I like give pause with is Georgia put up 30 on them. I just sort of sit back and go, I think that Miami should have the ability, and I agree with you. I think the Miami's lack of scoring has come from Beck just trying not to turn the ball over. Like he will just eat the sack before he like lets one rip.
Agree. He's doing the experienced things and not making mistakes, which is fine, and it's helping his team win because his defense is good. But again, they scored 10 points in the last game and then 24 in the earlier game. That's an average of like 17.
For 24 last game, 10 on the first.
Yeah, so that's an average of like 17 points. So that means on an average standpoint, Ole Miss has now got to put up 35 points, 36 points to hit the over. They could, but again, I think Miami's defense could give Chambliss some fits because Chambliss has been playing out of his mind, 100%. Like he's been playing fantastically. Again, I'll just to play both sides. The one thing that gives me pause is that a lot of his stuff is makeshift, right? Like these aren't plays that they're like, man, that was a good play call, hard to stop. The plays are breaking down, and then he's doing his Patrick Mahomes athletic ability things to make the play happen, which is good that he can do that. But at the same time, like, all it takes is a few of those plays to get shut down, and boom, there goes your drive. You know what I mean?
Well, that and the one thing I think Miami has a leverage above Georgia on is speed.
Yes, and they're gonna get to Chambliss.
Yes,
it's gonna depend on whether they can wrap him up. He's gonna be having to like duck and dip a lot of in the pocket grabs for him to get loose, and if he can do that, then sure, they might be able to move the ball. But like, I have a feeling he's going to get taken down a few times, and it's going to kill some drives.
Yeah, and on the opposite side, Ole Miss's defense is not. I think they match up well with Miami. Like, I agree with you. Miami's offense isn't potent. Like it's a step below Georgia's. Honestly, especially when you take a look at the last two games. It's just a question of can Ole Miss challenge Beck into just doing something finally dumb? Like we keep waiting for it to happen.
So see, and this is where I'm so split on the game because you're hearing me argue both points here, and we just talked about this. Ole Miss's defense is probably worse than A&M's and Ohio State's. The reason those teams were able to hold Beck in check was because they were getting pressure on Beck, and he was obviously not making mistakes, but like he didn't have a lot of time to do what he needed to do. And if Ole Miss's defense can't get to Beck, and you do give Beck time, if there's one thing, like he doesn't do it all the time, but Beck could absolutely tear a defense apart. We have seen him do it, like in that comeback against Alabama last year. Like if he has time, it does not matter what you're doing. Like he can pick you apart. He does have that ability. So that's where it's a tough. I'm up in the air. Like I am a total 50-50 coin flip on this game with like zero leaning bias either way, which is very rare for me because I can literally see all four scenarios of offenses versus defenses, one coming out on top of the other.
I think a shootout in this scenario hurts Beck's chances. And it's just because I think if he feels like, man, I have to if
he's got to keep up,
yes, then it hurts. Like
I agree.
If it's a close game and he feels more comfortable being like, I can just run and take 5 yards. I don't need to force it because my defense is competing. Then I think that he'll be fine. But if Ole Miss jumps out to a 14-point lead, I think that you're probably going to see a Beck pick at some point during the game, just because I think he'll have to just try to air it out. That's what my gut says in terms of the game. Who wins? Dude, I'm in the same boat as you. Like I've literally initially coming into this, everything in me tells me to take Miami. Like, Miami's the pick. The thing I like about Ole Miss, they just sort of seem to be that team that's like, dude, we believe that we're proving to everyone that we belong. We're going to do this. We're going to win a natty despite not having our head coach here anymore. Like, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
My question for you is, let's say that they do. I asked you guys this last time, but we were off camera. How long does it take before, if Ole Miss wins the natty, how long before Kiffin's allowed to come back and celebrate with the team? Like, what reunion will they be like, okay, Kiffin, yeah, you were here up until the end? Or will it ever happen?
I don't know. That one's tough. Like, because, again, I think we talked about, like, Kiffin wanted to stay. Like, he wanted to coach him through the CFP. I think it was Ole Miss's leadership. I don't know who directly, but I think it was their decision to go, hey, if you leave, you're gone. So I don't know what kind of bad blood there is, or, you know, if it was just like a, hey, we're making this decision and moving on without you. I don't feel like there's a necessarily a vindictive thing about it. I don't know, though, if he'll be, like, directly involved with the celebration, mainly from, like, the player's standpoint. Because, like, if you're a player, I mean, how are you feeling about Kiffin? Like, I'm happy that he got us there, but at the same time, I'm like, yo, dog, you left us. Like,
we ain't going to have, if they win, he ain't going to be in the parade this year. I'm saying, like, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, do you think he'll be back?
I mean, it's back. No, I mean, like, he might have, like, a reunion, but, like, it's not going to be anything big. And again, whether or not he's, like, truly welcomed by he might be invited, but may not be welcome.
It will be interesting. I asked that question just because this, to me, is the bigger problem in college football. Like, say, it's a lot of different problems, but one, the transfer portal's open. You have guys literally on playoff teams that were like, yeah, I'm opting out. I sent you guys the stat. 3.2% of all active college players are in the transfer portal right now. That's a massive problem. Combined with the fact that now, I almost think for colleges, you shouldn't be able to fire a coach until the end, like, unless it's like for an administrative action, like, hey, this dude did something criminal, until the end of the season. Because, like, you can't blame LSU for trying to go get him. It's like, dude, we need you to start recruiting now.
Yeah,
like,
you also can't blame Kiffin for leaving. Like, you're right. It's the timeline of things where it's like, dude, the season is still happening. Like, one, we need to compress this season, because this adds to the problem of, like, we've talked about it. Teams with a first round bye are now 1-7. Like, I said it during the game. I said, all I know is next year, if I'm a coach and I'm in a conference championship, I am tanking that game on purpose. Because when your team goes home cold and sits for a month and a half thinking, like, we're the best, we won our championship, you get beat. You get lazy, you get fat, and you get slow, and you get beat. Like, that's what happened. Like, and the only reason Indiana didn't do it is because they got Grumpy Signetti on the sideline doing his best Saban impression, because he's the only one with that dog in him right now, and that's why Indiana won. Everybody else got lazy and fat. Like, that's what happened. So shrink that huge gap of sitting around doing nothing. That way the season then can end maybe a little earlier, and then you can push back some of these timelines of, like, you got to hire a coach or you got to hit the transfer portal while the stupid season is still happening.
Yes, I agree with you. And they need to. I hate dogging them. I get it's an important game in terms of just college football lore, the Army-Navy game. I don't care. Like, let's be honest. They're not making the playoff. And if they do, like,
you can still have the game, but, like,
yeah, have the game, but move it up a week.
Yeah,
like,
or put it at the same time as some of these quarterfinals or play-in games. Like, it doesn't need to be
a conference championships.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a standalone.
Yes, like, you need to move that week back so that post-conference championships the very next week first round of the playoffs. It's just like the NFL. We finish week 18 this week, wild card weekend.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And then the following week, that way a team only gets, like, the winner gets a bye week. Like, they get a bye. And then they move on. Like, we'll see you in the post round one. Like, the season, I agree with Dan Lanning. He's like, the season needs to be over by January 1st. Like, New Year's Eve should be the national championship game, and then we'd be done. And that would actually make it better for the NFL season, because there's a reason that the college games are going on Thursday and Friday, because we have wild card playoff weekend. Like, they're
Saturday and Sunday. Yeah.
They're not going to compete with the NFL. Like, you look at viewership numbers. I think I brought this out last year. NFL viewership number for wildcat games is in the hundreds of millions. Like, the college games earn about the 10 million viewpoint. Like, you combine it all, and then from a marketing standpoint, NFL brings in over $10 billion from marketing their games over the course of the season. The college football playoff only brings in about $100 million from the entire thing. Like, it is just, and that's based upon viewership data. You're not going to compete with the NFL. So don't move this, compress the season, restrict teams from firing coaches unless it's an administrative action until the end of the year. That way everyone's on the same playing field. Restrict the transfer portal until every last team's done. You cannot get into the transfer portal or announce you're in the transfer portal until the end of the season. And then at the same time, dude, we got to talk about transfer portals in its own right. I'm sorry, guys, you can't just every single year go to a new school. Like, you get one, like, and then you're done.
Yeah.
But until the reason that this is happening is, I know this is a side note to the games, you have guys like Diego Pavia, and Chambliss is doing the same thing. They're suing the NCAA, being like, hey, that time that we spent playing at either a Division II or a smaller FCS school, that time shouldn't count. Well, the NCAA has been battling all these different lawsuits to the point that they're like, dude, we're not fighting this anymore. Why? Because we don't have the money. It's like the PGA going against Live Golf. Live had way more money, and so the PGA said, hands up, like, we're not trying to go bankrupt here. And that's what the NCAA is pretty much doing in the court system. They're just like, we can't fight every single case. We're running out of money. So until it becomes an actual, league of its own and has a conference commissioner, which they've all been yelling for Saban to be, it comes down to conference commissioners wanting to give up their power. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath for the NCAA to make a smart decision here. So,
yeah. So
back to the game.
Who
are you picking? Like,
Miami.
You're gonna pick Miami. Everything in my heart of hearts tells me Miami's a better football team, top to bottom. I'll go Ole Miss though on just to get our popcorn ready between you and I, and their momentum. They've just got a lot of momentum. They've got that underdog feel to them. I think it'll be on display that, like, Miami's bigger, faster, stronger. I think it's just going to come down to the heart and the fight from Ole Miss. So we'll see.
We'll see. That's the Thursday night game. Friday night game, Oregon, Indiana at the Benz in Atlanta. Indiana 3.5-point favorite. Indiana came off you want to talk about teams that do have a good offense? Well, Indiana showed it. 38 points against Bama. And Bama's defense isn't that bad. Indiana dominated. Like, they dominated. They looked the best of all the teams remaining in the playoffs on both sides of the ball. It's hard to argue that Indiana's not truly the team to beat.
Correct.
Right now, in my opinion.
Yep.
I sent you guys a text, and I was like, man, I feel like they're going to handle Oregon. And then I remembered, they played
30-20.
And it's hard to beat someone tight
in
twice.
Eugene.
Yes. What would be your game plan if you're Dan Lanning? How do you beat Indiana?
They are not, for Oregon kind of always being known as this, like everybody I think still has the Chip Kelly Oregon mind, like that they're just like this high-powered, like up and down the field in 13 seconds. They haven't been that team for a while, and they're 100% not that team this year. I will give them the benefit of the doubt that Texas Tech's defense is just fantastic, but they can only do so much, with your offense just putting up a goose egg. I'm worried for Oregon's sake of being able to score a bunch of points. Like I think the way they need to beat Indiana, and this is going to be hard to do, is control the game. Like they have to really rely on their run game to control the clock and not try to get into a shootout with Indiana. Because I don't think they have the firepower to truly do it. That they need to get lucky and catch Indiana on an off day, like when Indiana played, I think it was Wisconsin, maybe
Penn State.
That one, but there was one where they only put up like 13 points or 15 points or something like that. Whenever Mendoza ran out of the back of the end zone for no reason and took that safety, and it screwed everybody's parlays. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I can't remember. I think it might have been Wisconsin. I can't remember which game, but they had a very poor showing on offense that day. That's, I think, Oregon's best bet is to control the game, try to keep Mendoza cold, and just hope that they kind of struggle on offense, because their defense is okay, but they're going to get scored on. Their offense, again, hasn't been as huge firepower, so they really just need to string long drives together.
The thing I noticed in the Bama game that Indiana did really well on defense is they stunt a ton on the defensive line, and they really don't blitz, that's a Saban philosophy. Saban was always big that if you bring a blitz, which Bama did, Womack's defense,
engage 8.
Dude, it drives me insane. It's like, let's be honest. Every single year in the NFL draft, about half of the first round is corners. And it's like, guess what? How many of them pan out? Maybe one or two. Like, corner is just an incredibly difficult position. The idea that when you engage 8, if you don't get to them immediately, that all 4 of these guys are going to have their dudes locked up, it's a farce. And that's why Saban hated blitzing, because when you do that, you're going to leave someone on an island. Like, you have a lot of problems. Indiana didn't have to blitz. So they had a secondary that when you watch Bama's routes, like I felt bad for Ty Simpson, because a lot of times it was just like, yo, nobody's open. Like, I've got 3 guys going down the field and I've got 6 defensive backs, 2 on each dude. Like, they're just tight. Indiana, for Oregon to have a chance, they have to be able to run the football in Indiana. They have to force Indiana to bring a safety in the box. If they don't, Indiana's defense is going to stop Dante Moore, because I'm in the same boat with you. For as much hype of Oregon is, their offense has not shown up. Like, the fact that Texas Tech's offense was atrocious. You talked about running backs. When you said running backs running into one another, that was them. Like, they could not find a hole to save their life. And then one of the plays that summed up Texas Tech's time was when that tackle tried to pull into the guard and just whiffed on the block, and then like turned around like, what happened? And it was just like they were lost that entire game. Which, on a side note, you talk about having a month off, these teams going 1-7. How bad is your coaching that in a month of preparation, that's what we got to see?
That was your best game plan you came up with when you knew who you were playing? Because, like you said, they weren't prepping for JMU. Like, they knew they were prepping for Oregon from day one.
Yes. So I just sit back and I think with Sig Denny and how he's coached this team, like, they play very fundamentally sound football. They don't commit turnovers. Bama was doing things that you didn't see under Saban, talking smack, getting guys. And Indiana just let it roll off their back. Like, I'm not getting a flag. We're going to hit you with our pads, and then we're going to walk off the field. Period. We are not going to hurt ourselves. And in this game, I don't even like the line of 3.5. Like, I sort of like Indiana by double digits. The way they're playing right now, I'm not picking against Indiana in the game.
Absolutely not. I had Indiana from the beginning of the playoffs. I just thought they were the best top to bottom team on both sides of the ball. the good thing for Oregon, just so that it's not one-sided here, as good as Texas Tech's defense is and was, I think they only got like 2 sacks the whole game. So if Indiana's not blitzing, Indiana's only bringing 4. They might not get to Dante Moore. That may have to. They may have to change up their scheme, at halftime or something like that, if Dante Moore is able to get the time that he needs to make the plays down the field. Their running game is better than their passing game is the issue. So their running game really does have to get going. Because if you get into these known passing downs or known passing situations, they're going to be able to come after him. So if they can eliminate the sacks and give Dante more time, that's a positive in their note, or like a key to the game, if you will. But yeah, I do like Indiana by a decent margin here.
Yeah, it's the problem with Dante Moore, at least from my perspective, is he reminds me sort of Morton, where he's just inconsistent with the passes. Like, I got to give it to Mendoza. Dude was throwing ropes. Like, couldn't hate him. Like, he didn't put the ball on it. Every time he threw the ball, it was right where it needed to be. Like, which you'd expect out of a Heisman. Moore, there are times that he'll skip one. Like, it's just, he gets away with it because Texas Tech had enough problems stopping the run that they were bringing guys in to just commit to that. But like you said, they didn't get to him. I'm going to stick with it. I really think Indiana double digits. It's just, I think it's going to be too much. If Oregon comes, now I said that last week. I talked a big game last week, 1-3. The only game I got right was Ole Miss. So
likewise, I haven't picked a correct game, I think, since week 14.
You say that, at least you're batting 50. Me and Maul did the bowl game picks. Let me tell you, we bet $1 a game. I think we were like 15 games in. I just sent him the money. I just said enough. This makes me feel bad about my own life.
If I was Vegas, I think I would have set the line at 7.5, because I think it's more than one score, and they only beat them by 10 last time. So that's one of those, like, you see 7 and you're like, ooh, that's good. That's only one score. It could kind of go either way, but then you throw in that hook on there, and that's how Vegas takes everybody's money. So if I'm playing market maker, I'm setting the line at 7.5 to Indiana.
So you think Indiana does cover the 3.5?
Yes.
Yeah. So if I'll give it to you, since we both have Indiana, is Indiana going to win it all? Regardless of who they face?
I think so.
I would agree. Which is nuts. I mean, if there was one thing that came, I know I keep going back to the Bama game just because I am a Bama fan. I sent this message to you guys, and I told my dad the same. If there was one thing that came out of the game, it was like, yo, that was the coach you should have hired. Like, you hired the wrong coach. That's what Alabama's performance is what I would expect out of an Indiana. Not physical. Everything that Cignetti had those guys doing, I was like, yo, Indiana, it's going to be a problem for a few years. Like,
it's funny. It was Indiana last year, essentially, right? It was their first year, like, on this big stage, and they kind of choked. And then you have guys like, I don't want to say a name here because I don't want to slander anybody, but I'll just say some talking heads that, are on the ESPN network after last year were like, if there's one thing's clear, Indiana should never be invited back to the college football playoff ever again because of namesake alone, right? Like, yeah, they were good, but they didn't do anything, and then they got walked by Ohio State in the playoffs. And it's like, yeah.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, look how that ended up. I don't want to say they're going to win a natty because I don't want to get ahead of myself, but, like, they absolutely belong. And this is why namesake, when it comes to rankings and invitations, is ridiculous.
In history, it's like they keep pointing it out. Like, before Cignetti got there, they had the most losses in college football history. Like, it's a team that hadn't won a bowl game since the 90s.
I know, and I get it. And you go, well, how much does that matter this season?
Exactly.
No.
That's the only reason I say it is it's 100% on your point that this going in bias that we have of name power, it's false.
Yes,
It's
it's
same
like,
with Bama.
all
Same,
right, USC needs to have a finalist in the Heisman race every single year just because we have the most Heismans. And you're like, that's dumb. Well, you have to play the games to see who's the best. Thank you. Prove my point.
You're correct. Yeah. Ugh. So I guess we'll get into it post Cincinnati. We'll see what happens, but that's all I got.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, down to Pull Chalks. We'll see you guys for the College Football National Championship after this weekend.